It was a chilly night, the moon shrouded by a thick layer of clouds. The atmosphere was heavy with an unsettling quietness, the kind that seeps into your bones and makes you feel like you're the last person on Earth. As my car hummed along the desolate road, the only sounds were the occasional hoot of an owl and the gravel crunching beneath the tires. There was something about the isolation of the road that was both eerily peaceful and intensely unnerving. Suddenly, the car's headlights pierced through the darkness, revealing a pale figure standing on the side of the road. As if materializing out of thin air, they were there, a lone hitchhiker in the middle of nowhere. The figure was draped in darkness, their face obscured by shadows. My heart pounded in my chest like a drum, each beat echoing the growing sense of dread. The hitchhiker, shrouded in an almost spectral glow, seemed out of place, out of time. Their presence was an anomaly in the solitude of the night, a stark contrast against the backdrop of the desolate road. Something about the way they stood there, motionless, sent a chill down my spine. The world around us seemed to hold its breath, the silence becoming even more profound. The figure didn't move, didn't gesture for a ride, just stood there in the darkness, a ghostly apparition on this lonely road. Their presence was unnerving, their stillness unsettling. A cold sweat broke out on the back of my neck, the eeriness of the situation seeping into my very being. The instinct to flee overpowered any other rational thought. My foot hovered over the accelerator, my hand gripping the steering wheel tighter. The figure remained motionless, their face still hidden in the shadows, their presence an eerie reminder of the isolation of the road. Without a second thought, I stepped on the gas, leaving the hitchhiker swallowed by the darkness behind me. The rearview mirror showed nothing but an empty road disappearing into the night, the unsettling encounter lingering like a ghost in the back of my mind. The silence of the night was broken by a sudden, loud thump from the back of the car. A jolting noise like something heavy had just collided with the vehicle. The sound echoed ominously through the stillness, a stark interruption of the quiet hum of the car's engine and the soft rustle of the night's breeze. The car's interior, once a comforting cocoon, now seemed to close in on me. The leather seats, once soft and welcoming, now felt cold and unforgiving. The shadows cast by the dim dashboard lights seemed to shift and twist, creating unsettling shapes in the corners of my vision. Then, another sound. A scraping, like metal on metal, resonated from the back. It was a noise that grated on the nerves, made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. It was a sound that didn't belong, a sound that shouldn't be there. The steering wheel felt clammy under my hands as I gripped it tighter. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, echoing the rhythm of the unsettling noises. The road ahead was dark, illuminated only by the narrow beams of the headlights, making the night outside seem even more oppressive. The decision to pull over wasn't an easy one. Every instinct screamed to keep going, to drive faster, to get away from whatever was causing those sounds. But curiosity, or perhaps some darker impulse, urged me to stop to find out what was going on. So I did. I pulled over, the car's tires crunching on the gravel shoulder of the deserted road. The engine's hum died down as I turned the key, plunging the car into a silence that was even more deafening than the noises from before. As I reached for the car door handle, a sense of dread washed over me, a chilling anticipation of the unknown. I steeled myself, took a deep breath, and pushed the door open. As I stepped out into the cold night, the breeze biting through my jacket, I was greeted by an unnerving silence. The cold wind bit into my skin as I stepped out into the darkness. A sense of dread wrapped around me, as tangible as the icy chill of the night. I'd heard the noise, a muffled thump, coming from the back of my car. The fear was a bitter taste in my mouth, but I knew I had to investigate. As I ventured towards the trunk, and each step was a struggle against an invisible current. The peculiar silence of that night was broken only by the gravel crunching under my feet and the distant hoot of an owl. I reached the trunk, my hand trembling, as I reached for the handle. The metallic click echoed eerily at the silence as I popped the trunk open. She bathed in the dim glow of the trunk light was a sight that made my blood run cold. There lay a jacket, not just any jacket, but one that was eerily familiar. It was the blood stain, the crimson liquid still fresh, glistening under the faint light. My mind raced back to the hitchhiker I'd seen earlier. The stranger in the rearview mirror, his face obscured by the shadows. But that jacket was unmistakable. It was identical to that one he had been wearing. A cold shiver ran down my spine as I realized the implications. The jacket was here, in my trunk, But where was the hitchhiker? I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up as I turned around, half expecting to see a figure looming in the darkness. But there was nothing, only the chilling wind and the empty road stretching into the darkness. The trunk light flickered, casting strange shadows around me. I was alone, or at least I thought I was, but the blood-stained jacket told a different story. The horrifying truth began to dawn on me. The hitchhiker, the strange noise, the jacket, it was all connected in a terrible, dreadful way. The realization hit me like a punch in the gut. I was not alone. I jumped back into the car, my heart pounding in my chest. The engine roared to life, its growl echoing my own primal fear. I slammed my foot onto the accelerator, gravel crunching under the tires as the car lurched forward into the inky blackness. The road ahead was a narrow ribbon, winding through the desolate landscape, illuminated only by the car's headlights. The only sounds were the thunderous beating of my heart and the car's engine, both racing in unison. A sense of urgency took hold of me. My hands tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles white. The rearview mirror reflected the emptiness behind, yet I couldn't shake off the feeling of being pursued. It was as if the darkness itself was chasing me, reaching out with shadowy tendrils, trying to pull me back into its cold embrace. Every turn of the road seemed to bring new horrors. Trees loomed like spectral figures, their branches scratching the night sky. The wind howled through them, a mournful lament that sent shivers down my spine. I felt the chill creep in, wrapping around me like a spectral shroud. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to drive faster, to escape the unseen terror that lurked in the darkness. Then a sudden movement in the rear-view mirror caught my attention. My heart skipped a beat as I saw it, the silhouette of the hitchhiker. They were seated in the back seat, their outline barely discernible in the mirror, but there was no mistaking it. The figure was there, silent and eerily still. A cold dread washed over me. I could barely make out the hitchhiker's face. It was obscured, hidden in the shadows, but their eyes, oh, their eyes. They were luminous in the darkness, glowing with an unnatural light. They held an intensity that seemed to pierce the night, a chilling gaze that was fixed on me. In the mirror, the hitchhiker's face remained obscured, but their eyes were glowing. I could feel my heart in my throat as the car came to a screeching halt. With the grim outline of the hitchhiker looming in the rearview mirror, I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles as pale as the moonlight. The car's engine hummed in the eerie silence, a stark contrast to the chaos that had just ensued. Each second stretched out into an eternity as I braced myself for the inevitable. The mere thought of the confrontation sent shivers down my spine. Fear, like a creeping fog, consumed my senses, yet there was a strange undercurrent of curiosity, a yearning to untangle the threads of this chilling enigma. The hitchhiker's footsteps crunched against the gravel, a haunting melody that echoed in the still night. Their shadow stretched out, an ominous silhouette against the car's headlights. A wave of terror washed over me, but I fought against the tide. I had to face this. I had to know. I could hear my heartbeat, a frantic rhythm that pounded in my ears as the hitchhiker approached the car. The handle of the passenger door creaked as they pulled it open. A cold gust of wind blew in, carrying with it the scent of impending doom. The hitchhiker slid into the seat beside me, their face hidden in the shadows. A heavy silence hung in the air, a palpable tension that was almost suffocating. I could feel their gaze on me, cold and piercing. The world outside seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the climax of our spine-chilling encounter. I mustered the courage to break the silence, my voice barely a whisper. "Who are you?" I asked, my heart pounding against my chest. The hitchhiker remained silent for a moment, their gaze never leaving mine. Then they leaned into the light, their features slowly coming into focus. My breath hitched as I took in the sight before me. As I turned to face them, the hitchhiker's face came into the light, and what I saw was my own face staring back at me.